WBSM presents The Ken Pittman Show. Streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Now, Ken Pittman.
Nope, still not Ken Pittman. Tim Weisberg here, filling in for Ken this morning. And 508-996-0500 is the number if you want to call in. You can also send app chat messages on the WBSM app. Thank you, Grammy in Fairhaven, for sending in an app chat message saying it's nice to hear me on Saturday. It's nice to be heard on Saturday. Normally, I'm just sitting at home or, running around doing some errands, which I'll probably do after I get out of here. Even though now the rain is coming down pretty hard. So if you planned on doing something today and you waited and you said, yeah, I'll go out in a little while. I'll go out in a little while. I'll make some breakfast. I'll go out in a little while. Well, now you're going to be going out in the rain. Hopefully it doesn't stay like this the entire day, but probably. Hey, get the rain out of the way now, right? It's supposed to rain in April. Let's get the rain happening now so that it doesn't happen all summer long like it did last year. So we were talking before the news about bears and how we are going to have significant more bears in southeastern Massachusetts and on the South Coast going forward. That Mass Wildlife kind of admitted in a story that I wrote a few weeks ago that, yep, they're here. And Dave Waddles, who is the biologist, fur bearer biologist for Mass Wildlife, told me last summer that it's only a matter of time before bears are a permanent fixture in southeastern Massachusetts, but it looks like that time has come now. So keep an eye out. Protect your yard. Don't leave food out. Lock your trash up. There's all kinds of suggestions at Mass Wildlife's website where you can find out all of those ways to keep them out of your yard. One thing that's a little bit harder to keep out of your yard are coyotes. If coyotes are in the neighborhood, coyotes are going through your yard. And you don't want to leave pets out unattended. You don't want to leave pet food out. These are the kind of things that will draw coyotes into your yard. But there's a story that WCVB has, Channel 5, about this kid is running across the parking lot in cleats. You should take your cleats off if you're not on the field. Come on. So this story is pretty shocking in the brazenness of these coyotes. Normally, coyotes will keep their distance, can be scared off, but these ones are a little bit more brazen. So we'll talk about that in a second, but right now we've got a phone call, 508-996-0500. Good morning, you're on WBSM.
Hi, Tim. Good to hear you today.
Thank you. What's on your mind?
I noticed that Kenny Pittman must be in Florida with his band, correct?
Yes, he has a gig this weekend.
Well, I'll tell you, the band that opened up for Kenny Pittman yesterday is a band called Jacked Up, right? And they're the folk best band in Sarasota. And the lead guitar player from Jacked Up is from New Bedford. His name is Larry Kirby. He's a retired postal employee, and he lives in Sarasota now for a little bit of time. Their band is absolutely fabulous. I'm hoping that Larry got a hold of Kenny. I think he might know Kenny. I visited with Larry last week, and hopefully all the reports that come back will be good ones, both for the opener as well as for Ken.
It's funny because I just saw, I don't know if it was this morning or last night, I saw somebody post something on social media about Jacked Up and about how it's one of their favorite bands, but I can't remember who it was that posted it.
Yeah, if you look them up and stuff, they're they're always in the running. You know, like sort of like what the Standard does, best of the SouthCoast.
Mm-hmm.
They have that in Sarasota, and Jacked Up wins it all the time. And they get to play in quite a few different venues. Mostly they like the fairs and stuff like that. And like I said, it's a good band. They're very, very good. I'd love to see if somebody could get them to come up here. One of the only venues that would do that, obviously, is a Feast. But I would love to see them come up here and play in that situation.
Well, I know.
Obviously, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know they're doing some more shows on the Feast grounds. They have a show coming up that has some local bands, All Sinners, which is Roger Schwinnard's band from Purchase Street Records, some other local bands. So they're doing more things over there. So it could be possible.
It's a venue that would prescribe to that, and it would be good. And I know there was a partnership with the V in effort to get stuff going. One of the only drawbacks is obviously the people who attend anything at the Feast always know that everything is free. And I think that mindset stays put when anybody comes in there, that it should be a free show. So this newest idea and event that's coming up should be a lot of fun. I know that they've worked hard on that, and it should be good. And I think it's good to have another venue, in as much as that we don't use the parks for that anymore, or it just doesn't seem to be any place else other than if you wanted to go in downtown New Bedford. And I know the focus of the Mitchell administration is all things downtown, but I think sometimes you got to spread that out. Some of the people who may want to go to these things, who live close by, live in a tenement district, don't have means of transportation, where to park, no public transportation, stuff like that. So I'd really like to see Parks and Recreation and whoever runs these things in the summer kind of spread them out a little bit. That would be, I think, a pretty good idea.
I mean, I would love to see more events happen at night at Fort Tabor. Some bands that could play like after dusk. So those parking lots that are for the beaches, that's where people could park, and they could walk down to the fort, and they could have a nice night out there under the stars and see some shows. But I know, the neighborhood doesn't like that. The neighborhood doesn't want that kind of thing to happen.
Well, the neighborhood would some of the restaurants that are down there, and some of the ideas that go there. I got the neighborhood, and it's like in any other neighborhood, it's a NIMBY situation. It always has been. So I would imagine that the neighborhood downtown is conducive for that, because it's a business district. But way back when, I got a few years on you, they would have concerts in the park, and they would have even Ashley Park. They had Ashley Park, Hazelwood, all these venues. It's 2 hours. It's not going to disrupt the neighborhood. It's not going to drive them nuts. If they have something at Fort Tabor, it's not going to carry that much where it's going to upset the neighborhood. And it's always good to enhance the neighborhood as well as give people a real outlook of what this city has. People get stuck in their own environment, where they live, and they get this small radius that they travel in a regular day. I think that opens it up to a lot of people, and it opens up to people, especially if you get good entertainment from other areas who might want to come down.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't get into that Apponeganset thing in South Dartmouth. In Payne Arundel, when they have those concerts, and now they've gone to charging $5 a carload to get in there. It used to be free. It's just tough getting a parking spot, but that's one of the reasons I don't go there. Like you say, you could park if you do it at Fort Tabor, but there's many opportunities, and I just think that it's incumbent upon the administration, as well as those people who have parks and recreation and beaches, to every now and then just throw the rest of the city a bone and get it away from downtown.
Absolutely. I agree.
Thanks a lot. It's good to hear you.
Thank you for the call. Have a good day.
Bye.
And just to take off on that a little bit, I've had conversations with Mayor Mitchell here on the radio when I used to do the midweek with the mayor program, where we would talk about things like 50s night and other events. And he said that his, what's the word I'm looking for here? His status on this, his position on this is that the city doesn't have the manpower to put on events, but that the city will support any private citizen that wants to put on events. Now, I've heard from some private citizens who have said that they have hit stumbling blocks when they've tried to put on events. So how much of the support is really there, I don't know. But Mayor Mitchell has told me that he personally supports anybody that wants to try to put something, if the event is a good fit for the city should do all that it can to support that, but that it's going to take private individuals putting those kind of things on. So that maybe someday the promoters who put on shows at places like the Vault will say, maybe we can do an outdoor concert and we can put something like that on. But it's going to take the private sector trying to put this on, or an individual or a nonprofit organization, in order to have this happen. And that's why the feast grounds kind of being opened up to these possibilities has been huge, because that does help with a lot of the red tape. 508-996-0500. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. You're next on WBSM.
Hi, Mr. Weisberg.
How are you?
Well, lousy day for a walk.
It definitely is. I was thinking of you when it started downpouring. I said, I hope Mary got her walk in already.
Well, I did, but I prefer some sun, Mm-hmm. I was awake at around, 3 or 4 in the morning. I didn't look at the clock. It was early. And I heard the news. I was surfing around the channels. And I heard, and I really got upset. I couldn't go back to sleep after that. They were talking about, I think it was 4. Could be 3 or 4, but I think I heard the number 4 giant panda bears that they are bringing to a zoo, and I don't recall what zoo. Probably the San Diego. I really have no idea. Why can't they leave those bears in their own habitat? Why? They're going to live a better life if you leave them alone, because no matter what zoo they go to, and no matter how much they try to make it look like a natural habitat, it's not enough. It's not enough room. It's not big enough, and no zoo will ever be big enough. So did you hear that story? Do you know what zoo we're talking about?
I did not hear the story, but I just looked it up, and it's they're going to the San Diego Zoo.
Oh, yeah. I figured it would be San Diego, a zoo that I always wanted to visit when I was younger, many years back, and I never made it. But now I don't think I want to visit it. I mean, we're talking about bears already here that are coming into the cities, and the coyotes and everything else. And now when I heard that, 4 giant panda bears yet. I don't think I've ever even seen any. I'm going to go look at them on the internet any minute.
The only time I've seen them was at the National Zoo in Washington.
That's not as big as San Diego, right?
I don't know how big San Diego is compared to the National Zoo. The National Zoo is a pretty big zoo, though.
So you think that you agree with all this? What can a person do to try to stop things up to get rid of zoos? Yes, I'm in the mood for doing something like that. Leave the animals where they belong. How would humans like to be taken and put in a forest and let all the animals come and look at you locked up?
Well, in some cases, some of these animals are taken to the zoos because their habitats are being destroyed or because they're actually being threatened in the wild.
Yes, Mr. Weisberg, they're being destroyed. Why is that?
Well,
why is that, huh?
Progress. People, in China, they're building more housing. They're leveling some of these forests where these bears live in order to accommodate more people, and with that, the bears have less places to live.
I don't like that. More birth control is what we need.
Well, I mean, this is China we're talking about, so it's actually illegal to use birth control in China.
I thought they had rules over there, like you can only have 1 kid or something.
But that's only something that they'll do when they need to. If they can build more, they're going to build more, Mary. You know how it goes.
And I don't know about Russia, too. Do they have rules there about how many kids over there?
I don't know about Russia. This is part of what's called the China's Panda Diplomacy Program.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Call it anything, but 4 giant pandas are coming. Those poor things. And I want to cry for them.
They're not permanent. They're just coming on a visitation type situation.
What? They're moving those bears out of their habitat for us to see them for a little while?
I don't know. I don't know that. I think these might have been born in captivity. But these pandas are part of a program that they send them out to different zoos and, give people the chance to see them.
And you looked it up. Did you see a picture of them? Did it show you?
This particular story, this is a release from San Francisco's website, and it doesn't have any photos.
To go where they live on purpose and snatch 4 giant pandas out of living their own natural life. It's pitiful, pathetic, disgraceful. I can't stand it, and I wish it would stop. Thank you for taking my call.
All right. We'll try to have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
And 508-996-0500. Good morning. You next on WBSM.
Good morning. I just want to compliment you on your photo shoot.
Oh, thank you.
That came out awesome.
It wasn't a real photo shoot. We were just we were down there doing some business, and Kristen's like, "Look at that spot. You should take some new headshot photos there." So
yeah, I like the one with your shark. Yeah, the shark too. And then what was I going to say? About the animals. Some of those animals are, they're extinct, and those coyotes will get them in a minute and kill them. They're not going to live too, much in the wilds.
Yeah, I mean,
so?
sometimes these animals are taken from captivity to protect them. I mean, taken from the wild into captivity to protect them, because as they become extinct, if you can bring them into a zoo situation or a habitat situation, then you can breed them and have more.
Right. I think they should leave them right where they are because.
I mean, let me ask this question: would you rather see pandas in the wild go extinct? And I'm just using pandas as an example. Would you rather see them stay in the wild and go extinct, or would you rather see pandas live forever but live in captivity?
In captivity, because they treat them good. They feed them good. They, you know what I mean? They do a good job over here at Bottomwood Park, I think. And
these pandas will be rock stars. They will be treated when the ones in the National Zoo were treated like rock stars.
Oh yeah, no kidding. They're beautiful, and the elephants over here too. You see the elephant that got escaped from the zoo last night on TV?
I let it loose.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to ride it.
You drive fast.
I was trying to ride it. It didn't work.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. No, but those pictures did come out really nice.
Thank you very much.
I love my jean coats, too. I got like 5 jean coats. I just love them.
I was looking around for one, and then I saw one in Burlington, and I was like, all right, I'm going to grab it. And then the only problem is, man, I forgot how bad they smell.
Really?
Yep.
Was it like a gasoline?
It had like a gasoline smell to it, and I washed it a bunch of times with different stuff to try to get it out, and it's still not gone completely, so I'm just going to keep hitting it with all kinds of stuff.
Try vinegar?
I mean, I tried it, but I spit it back out.
Hey?
You mean to wash it in? Okay.
Wash it in.
Yeah.
Wash it in, yes.
I'll try that.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's good. Yeah, try that and actually some in laundry detergent too. And it should mine came in fine. I ordered it online, but I got them on sale. But none of mine smelled. No. What kind did you get? The Levi or the?
No, I wanted a Levi's one, but I couldn't find it. I don't even know what brand this is, but it looked nice, so I was like, I'm just going to grab that one.
Yeah, it is a nice one.
It was $20 compared to $70 for a Levi's one.
No kidding.
Yep.
$20. Wow.
So
that's really cheap.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I figured I'd grab it.
Used to carry a lot of Levi jackets, but no longer.
Can't go there anymore.
But anyway. No, I know, but you look great.
Thank you very much.
Like a little kid. Really do. All right, you take care.
You have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
508-996-0500. I'm going to take a break. We'll be back in a few moments.
Free
And welcome back in, 508-996-0500, or use app chat on the WBSM app. And I was mentioning before the coyote situation that's going on in this particular neighborhood. This is in Quincy, which you don't think of Quincy as being a place that would have a lot of wildlife running through it, but that's the case. There was a woman who was walking her dog Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Normally, like coyotes are wandering around our neighborhoods, around sunrise. Oh, there goes the power. Thanks, Fairhaven. Okay. Oh, and there we go. All right, I think we're back. This has been an ongoing thing I've been reporting on all week long. We'll get into that in a moment. You know what? Let's put a pin in the coyotes for a moment, and we'll go into the Eversource story. So for those of you who don't listen during the week, let me recap. We had another power outage earlier this week. Little things where, you just get it to go off for a second, and then it comes back on. And here we have a generator. Now, the problem was, I know we had some issues where we would go off the air a little bit. And part of that problem was our battery backups had died because they were being used so much from the power going out. So we had to swap those out. Now we've got them swapped out. So I think, everybody should be hearing me just fine. Might take a couple seconds for the internet to catch up because of the router and all of that. But so we have had a series of these little power outages for weeks now. Weeks. Going back to, I think, Easter, or maybe even the week before Easter. And we had one that happened on Tuesday. It was Tuesday of last week. And I just happened to go to a store in Lifestyles Plaza down the street. Now, we knew other people in the building were having issues. Other people in our plaza were having issues. 99 Restaurant had talked to us with us about it. The UPS store had talked with me about it. And so I was at Lifestyles Plaza, and they were talking about how it's been happening there, too. And they said that it's been happening at Stop and Shop as well. So I went over to Stop and Shop to get lunch on my way back here, and I just happened to hear two employees talking about it. And one of the employees was telling us that they had heard that it was underground wiring that was the problem, underground power cables, and that the ground was so saturated from all the rain we've been getting that it was causing these shortouts to happen. Well, Eversource said that's not the case. I reached out to Eversource. What's funny is people were talking about it in Fairhaven Facebook groups and saying, I called Eversource. They said this is the first they've heard about it. I called Eversource. They said they only had one ticket about it. I called Eversource. They said they would look into it and get back to me, but I haven't heard back. I mean, it turned into this whole runaround that people were getting. And so I got a response from Eversource, from their new senior director of media relations, or whatever the title was. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Kyle Costa, who is the former Dartmouth police detective who handled their PR. He's the guy that had all the funny Facebook posts for the past decade plus. That was Detective Kyle Costa, who is now just Kyle Costa, and is handling PR for Eversource. And he explained that this has been going on, but that it's related to wind and tree issues that they're working on. Now, I've also been told, kind of from a source, that it has something to do with them having to switch over some things due to an increased pull on the power grid from solar farms. So whatever the real answer is here, they've got to figure it out, because this has been happening way too often. And we haven't even gotten into the time of the year yet where everybody's going to have their air conditioning on. Once the hot weather comes in and people turn on those air conditioners, that's going to be even more of a draw. Now, I'm looking out the window, and we did just have a bunch of downpour It just downpoured for quite a while, but there's not a lot of wind. So unless the trees became saturated and took down a wire, or maybe somebody just crashed into a pole, I hope not. But it just seems to me like it's just another unnecessary outage. And okay, we've got our battery backup fixed, but what about all the businesses that don't have that? Which if you don't, you should. And don't just put your cash registers on it. Don't just put your credit card machines on it. Put your router on it too, because your credit card machine is no good if it still has power if the internet is down. So put your router on it too. But apparently this is going to be an ongoing issue. So hopefully that's the last one for today. 508-996-0500. All right, now let me go back to the coyote story. So this woman was walking her dog at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday in this Quincy neighborhood. And as she's walking the dog, I don't even know if she saw the coyote. She's just walking the dog down the street. And a coyote comes from another yard across the street, jumps over that yard's fence, and comes after her and her dog. I mean, this thing just jumped over the fence and came after her and her dog. And she's dragging her dog, Brody, saying, come on, Brody, come on, Brody. And the woman, whose name is Carrie Chanowski, she did exactly what she was supposed to do. She made a lot of noise. She tried to scare the coyote off, but this thing stuck around. And you can see the video at WCVB.com. And they've had other coyote attacks in that neighborhood in recent years, including a Maltese that fell victim to the coyote. Channel 5 went out there to film this story on Friday, and they just happened to see a coyote walking down the road. So these things are just walking around as if they own the place. And while, yes, we do have to live with wildlife, we also have to understand that if the wildlife gets to the point where they're getting too brazen, something needs to be done. Now, coyotes are protected. It's not like they're going to go out there and, hunt these, nor should they. But what they can probably put up some kind of deterrent, right? Some sort of, I don't know. I don't even know what you would do in that situation. But they've got to do something, because these coyotes aren't like normal coyotes where they'll come around at sunrise or sunset and poke around looking for food. These ones are just walking around the neighborhood as if they own the place. And that's where it's hard to ask people to live in harmony with the wildlife around them. This isn't like a squirrel running by you on the street. This isn't like a rafter of turkeys coming through the neighborhood. Yes, they're called a rafter. That's what a group of turkeys is called. It's not a flock, it's a rafter. I found that out a few years ago. This isn't like the rafter of turkeys that roams the neighborhood, although the turkeys that roamed around my neighborhood, they were like a gang. You saw those turkeys come and you crossed to the other side of the street, or you went back in the house. These turkeys were tough, and they let you know that they were tough. I once saw 2 rafters of turkeys come at each other on the street. It looked like that scene from Adventures in Babysitting where the 2 gangs are about to knife each other on the subway, daring each other to take a step forward. So it's a serious thing. I'm going to take a break here and see if I can make sure everything is back in line. We'll be back in just a few moments.
My dad, he's a double amputee, and he's one of my favorite people in the world. To me, a hero is someone who fights for our country and freedom. My dad is a hero. Homes for Our Troops built this house, and it's basically made for him. My dad can get through the wide doorways. When he is making our lunch, he can reach anything we need. He'll help me build tiny projects. Life is good here. Without Homes for Our Troops, we'd be living in a home that didn't have all these features that helped him.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives.
If they get a new house like this one, it'll help them do normal life. My dad's not just a hero, he's my hero.
Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
Meals from those years are hard to forget. It was all white bread and whole milk, hamburger casseroles and quiche Lorraines, all with a side of cigarettes. We ate salads as desserts. We knew a party was classy if it had a cheese log, and we never missed an after-dinner smoke. It didn't matter if we were in our dining rooms, a burger joint, or the ritziest of restaurants. There'd be an ashtray on every table, and that very particular flavor in every meal. We smoked for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's amazing that our food could taste like anything else. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It's better to be inside than out today, that's for sure, with the rain coming down. 508-996-0500. Tim Weisberg filling in for Ken Pittman this morning. Ken, of course, is down in sunny Florida, so he's probably not experiencing weather like this. We're getting some app chat messages from folks. Chili59 in New Bedford says, the radio station should move back to New Bedford, preferably to the Star Store with the windows. No, then Problem solved. Well, except for we wrote those stories about how much, and Jack Spillane certainly wrote those stories about how much work is needed on that building. So, I don't know. We can't afford $70 million worth of repairs. So we'll just hang on to where we are here. We actually like it here in our building. The problem here is Eversource with the electricity. And so here, like in our building, everything is great. We remodeled a few years ago, and there's some other remodels coming in the future. This space is awesome for us. But Eversource has to get their stuff together here because they're the problem. They're the reason why this power keeps going out, and they're not giving us straight answers, I don't think. Also, Grammy in Fairhaven says, I just walked in and out of Walmart in Fairhaven. Their checkouts are all down. Yeah, see, I don't understand why a corporation like that doesn't have redundancies for something like this. They must have a generator. If you have a generator, you should have battery backups for all of your registers and for your internet that's coming in, because so much of this stuff, it used to be that these things would use individual phone lines. But now they just tie everything into the internet. So your routers should all be on backups too. And Walmart has a corporate structure in place where they should know this. Unless, then if the internet company goes down on their end and they don't get their power back up and running, or they have an issue, then there's not much you can do about that. An answer at 7 in Acushnet says, first, good to hear your voice again while I deliver mail. Well, great to be heard. But he also says the reason why we see a lot of wild animals is that people will leave food out for them, and those wild animals will go and eat the food and always come back for more because they know those people will leave more food. And yeah, that is a major issue, is that they have food out, and when the food is out, and it might not even be that they're necessarily trying to feed the wild animals. There are people who leave out food for their own pets. Oh, my cat goes outside and doesn't come back for days at a time, so I put a little food out for her so that she can have something to eat. Listen, if your cat is staying out for days at a time, she's not hungry. She's finding something to eat out there. If she was hungry, she would come home. She knows that's where the food is. You don't need to put food outside for your cat. If your dog is outside, and say you're going to keep your dog outside on a nice day, your dog wants to stay outside all day running around their pen or running around the fenced-in yard or whatever, and you want to put some food outside for the dog so that when the dog gets hungry, the dog can have something to eat, great idea. Just bring that food back in at the end of the day. Because hopefully you're not leaving the dog out there alone, unsupervised, because we have too many wild animals to do that. I mean, I used to put my dog out on her runner all the time and just let her stay out for as long as she wanted. When she was ready to come in, she would come over to the door and she would bark. There goes the power again. She would come over and bark, and I'd let her in. And then 5 minutes later, she'd be back at the door and she'd want to go back out, but whatever. But then once we started getting more coyotes in the neighborhood, I said, okay, if you're going out, I'm going to stay out with you now, because she's not going to want to fight with a coyote. I don't even know that she'd want to fight with a fisher or most of the other animals that would come into the yard. We had a groundhog that she would chase around, and I was like, he's going to beat you up. She was a basset hound, but I was like, she's the most lovable dog. He's going to beat you up if you corner him. Just leave him alone. But she thought it was a friend that she could play with. But if you leave food out for the wild animals, that's even more of a problem. You shouldn't be feeding wild animals. They do perfectly fine finding food on their own. If they don't find food and they starve, that's kind of the laws of nature. So you shouldn't be interfering and drawing more wild animals into the neighborhood that are going to cause problems. So don't put food out. I get it. People want to put bird food out so they can watch the birds come. I used to do it too. I got rid of my bird feeder because the squirrels were just terrible about it. I wasn't paying money for feeding the squirrels. But in my neighborhood, we had every kind of bird imaginable. All the street names were named after birds. Birds would come from all over and, from all over the neighborhood, rather, and come to the tree in my yard and sit there and eat that food, but then the squirrels would get up there and ruin it. The animals will find food on their own. They don't need your help. 508-996-0500, or you can send app chat messages on the WBSM app. A little bit later on, I think I will play that interview with Dr. Sabina Stanley that I did earlier this week on my program about life on other planets, since we're talking about wildlife here on Earth. And this isn't about life on other planets like as in aliens that are coming here to visit us. This is about whether or not other planets have the ability to sustain life as we know it, whether they can have water on these planets and whether they can have fauna, plant life, things like that. And kind of what are the things that makes up our own Earth that allows it to happen. It's a fascinating book that she has, and it was a great interview. It's not long. It's a little over 13 minutes, a little under 14 minutes. So we'll play that coming up. And then I want to talk about something that I discussed this week on my show too. There was a cleaning company where the woman who runs the cleaning company showed up at a client's house. The whole family was there, which she said, was a little odd, but not that unusual. She cleaned the whole house top to bottom. At the end of doing all that, when she went to collect the money from the homeowner says, oh, by the way, we've all been sick with COVID this week. So she didn't tell her until after she finished cleaning the house that everybody in the house had COVID. And then this person had to call all of her clients that she had to go to and say, I was exposed to COVID. Do you still want me to come? And of course, most of them said no. So she lost money. She put her own health and her own family's health at risk, all because this selfish family wanted to make sure they got their house cleaned first before they told her they were sick. Just terrible. Anyway, we can talk more about that coming up. Right now, though, I've got to take my final break of this hour.
Sam.
Well, we're going to be going in the news in just a moment. When we come back, you and I are together for another hour as I'm filling in for Ken today. And then it'll be time after that for Money Matters with Jose Matos and Sierra Fiore. But we will be taking your calls, 508-996-0500. I will play that interview with Dr. Sabina Stanley. Very interesting conversation, and it might really expand your mind if you're already partaking in 420 Day. I don't know how early you started, but if you're already under the influence of cannabis, you're going to really appreciate this interview. All right, we'll be back after the news.
WBSM and W258DR, New Bedford, a Town Square media station.